Hi, welcome to Mindful Conversations. My name's Greg Dwyer. I'm excited. My guest today is Steve Schappert. He's in the real estate industry, but he is also an author, How to Sell Your Home for More Money. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for many years. Steve, thanks for being on the show today.
Great to be here, Greg. Good
So,
to see you.
I have to ask, what inspired you to write these books? And I know some of these are out of print or they're sold out. Most of the people that I know that are in real estate don't spend time writing books. Why did you think of doing that?
I was a buyer broker back in the early 2000s, end of the 1990s. And in 2000, Real Estate Investment for Dummies called.
No way.
And they said, we would like you to write the book. We like your profile and everything that you're doing. And I said, okay, but I'm not a writer. And they said, that's okay. We're going to give you a writer, and you're going to provide stories and content. They're going to do all the writing.
Like a ghostwriter.
Correct.
Well,
exactly.
Back up a little bit. What is a buyer's broker? I know, but maybe people don't know what that is.
A buyer's broker is somebody that only represents buyers. Doesn't work with sellers.
All right.
It's just kind of like one half of the thing.
Sure.
And when I got into business in '96, I looked over the horizon and I said, what can I do that's different? There's only 1,800 agents in the greater Danbury area. I got to come up with something that makes me stand out, and I'm just starting and there's big competition. How do you do it? I said, I'm going to be the first buyer's broker in the area.
So that was like your unique selling
That made me unique.
proposition.
Yes. So
that's
the Brookfield Journal ran an article and said, hey, he's the buyer broker. The Danbury, so now it's regional, said, hey, he's the buyer's broker. Woman's Day magazine wrote an article and said, call Buyers Trust if you're buying anywhere in the country. NBC did a special on me and said, hey, if you're buying a house on the Candlewood waterfront, call Steve.
wow.
So it was good. It gained a lot of momentum, and because of the Women's Day article, 90% of my business was referral business. So helping people in Toledo move to California, vice versa.
Pretty impressive.
So when the market crashed, it was impressive, but when the market crashed, I lost $1.2 million over lunch, went home. In the following week, the headline of the New York Times said, just walk away.
To people that had houses?
Front page of the New York Times, just walk away. Here's why. Things are bad and they're going to get worse. And don't worry about filing bankruptcy or getting foreclosed on because you need to save yourself. And I sat there going, just lost $1.3 million on an investment. Now my mainstay business, not looking so good. Difficult to wrap your arm around your buyer client and go, I just lost $1.3 million. You can too. Let's do this.
So I got to talk about the mindset. Like,
Exactly.
how does a person keep on charging? I know a friend of mine, Scott Alexander, he wrote this book called Rhino Success. How do you have the mindset just to keep on going and to not look at the problem and to blow it out of proportion and just keep on going? I mean, how did you do that?
By digging deep.
Okay.
It hurt.
Yep.
It was painful. But I just kept my eye on the ball, the point on the horizon. Where do I want my life to go?
Right.
And I've always had this interest in real estate, construction, architecture is my passion. So I kept just looking there. And I said, well, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And then the phone rings, and it was the fire marshal in New Milford. And she said, I'm sorry that your project fell through, but would you like to paint my house? And I was like, yes, please.
Yeah. So you're talking about this horizon, and you were focused on it. And in the last decade, has the path changed?
The path always changes.
Okay.
I mean, you have to be able to have a dream
Yep.
and have a passion, and you have to be able to keep it right there and always be able to look straight at it, never lose your focus. But you need to understand that things change.
Right.
And just because you momentarily have to turn left and then turn right, and then you might have to turn right 2 more times and left 3 times just to get back on course, that's what you have to do in between.
It's like being lost. You're driving around before they had the GPS.
Right.
You know, now you have the GPS, and if you're lost, it's going to tell you, you know, redirect, you know, and that.
And it can look difficult. It can look from the outside looking in. It can look confusing because you're like, oh, he's doing this. It's because at every given day, every given moment, you have to make decisions as to how best to get back there. And the straight line is not always the easiest path. It's not always the path of survival because you can keep going straight down this road and you can die.
Right.
And that's
if you're,
bad.
If you're going to go after something and you're really persistent, but it's the wrong, you know, direction. I think Tony Robbins talks about running east looking for a sunset.
Correct.
You can be really focused on doing that, but if it's not the right strategy, you're dead. You're
correct.
Yeah. So you're really working towards a moving target, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, actually, I won't say it's a moving target. The target is always fixed.
All right.
But sometimes you just got to step a little
Right.
one side or the other because things happen. Like the market collapse. So you say, oh, I'm a buyer broker. I'm just the buyer broker, and I'm the #1 buyer broker in the country. Great. But you can't wrap your arms around your clients and say, come on, you should sign up to lose your entire life savings.
So you weren't married to that identity, because you just told me before we went on air that you're not doing it anymore, which I didn't know.
Correct.
You were able to drop that identity and pick up another identity, and how quick was that in your mind? You just said, that's it, I'm done, or what?
I spent about 8 years going from buyer's trust and developer and falling on my face and losing everything and having to scrape, scratch, and crawl for virtually 10 years. Reopened buyer's trust, but I looked out over the horizon and said, the biggest buyer broker in the state has 2 agents, and I have 3, but it's not gaining any traction. I looked out over the country. Who's the biggest in the country? 13 agents. I used to have 15. So that industry, in my eye, was just dying.
Right.
You know, there wasn't any new blood coming in. It wasn't going anywhere.
Sure.
So in order for me to get there, I had to change the plan.
Right.
I closed buyer's trust. I did a legal name change to Connecticut Real Estate, and I regained my focus. So for 4 months, I worked on, I'm still a contractor. I got to keep one foot in the paintbrush over here.
Right.
I'm doing real estate, so I'm a little here. So I'm being pulled in half.
Right.
And the moment comes where you've got finally a couple of real estate closings, there's cash in the bank, and you have that moment where you need to just grab it and run.
Right.
You take your paintbrushes and all your paint clothes and you throw them in the pile and you light a match and you torch it and go, I'm not going back.
Right. Right.
So move forward with Connecticut Real Estate. I'm sitting here today really 2.5 weeks into Connecticut Real Estate full time. I've had conversations with 4 brokers in the last week, because in that 2.5 weeks of I am nothing but focused on Connecticut real estate. I mean, just understand the power of the name.
Right.
I'm not naming the company after myself,
Right.
because nobody cares.
Right. Right.
No one's going to search for Steve Schappert initially. Keep it simple. What are they looking for? What's the hashtag? Hashtag Connecticut Real Estate, because
Nice.
I am Connecticut Real Estate. So it keeps me very focused moving forward.
And the branding is really clear.
The branding is really clear, and it sounds like it was founded in 1776.
You don't look that old.
Sounds like the company has been there
Yeah.
forever. When I registered it with the state of Connecticut, Michelle Siegel is the director, and she's on the phone. She goes, wait, Connecticut Real Estate? Nobody has ever registered that?
That's amazing.
That's crazy.
That is amazing, yeah.
So That's us.
Wow.
So that's the mindset. It's being able to look at things differently and look at things from the eye of the consumer, not the eye of what's going to make me feel good.
Right.
You know, is it Schappert real estate? Do I need to make myself famous? No, I need to be what people are looking for.
Right. You need to provide a service where people want what you have. So if you're going to be in business for yourself or you're going to work for a company, that company has to provide something that is of value, and that's what you're doing. So are you a broker now? Is that what you do?
I am a broker.
Okay, so you are a broker, so you're looking to bring in other real estate
Other
people.
agents and other brokers.
Oh,
so
other brokers.
Other existing companies have called up, and we've had lunch and whatnot to discuss how we can work together, how to develop the commercial branch, how to develop a branch in Eastern Connecticut.
Nice. So how do people get a hold of you? I know we have your card here, but as far as the internet, we were talking about the website, we're talking about Facebook. What's the easiest way? I'm sure it's the tagline.
ConnecticutRealEstate.online. And people go, .online? What is that?
Yeah,
I've
I never heard of
of
that.
.online.
I never.
It's a new domain.
Okay.
The tagline is searching for Connecticut real estate online. Go to ConnecticutRealEstate.online.
Wow.
Be what they're looking for.
Right, right. So how did you even wrap your brain around that? How did you discover that? I didn't know about that at all.
I've been developing websites since '96. I was the vice chairman of economic development in Brookfield, and we had, I don't know, 5 of us on the board. We had a $9,000 budget, and the $9,000 budget went to creating the town brochure every year. That was the entire budget for economic development. I said, it's 1996. We have this thing called the internet, and we could take all the data from the brochure, put it on the internet for $15 a year, have money left over. And like, no, we don't think so. I said, we should do a town fair. Oh, that would be too much work. So I put on the town fair, and I developed the website for the town of Brookfield. I then developed it for the Candlewood Lake Authority. Then I developed it for the Housatonic Council of Elected Officials. And then I turned to myself and created Buyers Trust. So I've been doing search engine optimization and social media, for 20 years.
Wow.
It's one of my fortes, real estate, construction, marketing. That sums up my life.
Well,
basically.
it's interesting because most people, if they're an artist, let's say they're a painter or they're a singer or they're an author, that's all they do. It's just one thing. But you have many different talents and you have many things to pull from, the marketing aspect. I heard years ago there was a gentleman, he's very, very famous in the UK. And he does mentalism. I won't get into the details of what he does, but he said there's 2 things that you need to focus on in business and in life. One is you have to be really good at what you do, and I know you are. And then the other one is the marketing. If you're really good at what you do and no one hears about you, then you're dead in the water, And then the other part is the marketing. And you can have really good marketing, a great website, and then you can show up and do a terrible job. And you need to have both. And then
all of them.
About a half an hour, 25 minutes into the interview, the guy asked him a question. He goes, it's this and that. You need both. You need to be really good at what you do, and you also, at the same time, you really need to be able to get that word out. So when we come back after the break, I'd like you to talk about this, how to sell your home for more money. This says expired. That's interesting. A formula to sell any house, and a home buyer's guide, everything you needed to know about buying a home. So I want to talk about, after the break, how you got into being an author. I find that to be fabulous. So we'll be back after this break with Steve Schappert. Hi, welcome back to Mindful Conversations. My guest is Steve Schappert. Not only is he in the world of real estate, he's also an author. So thanks for being here. I really appreciate this.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm looking at these books. I think they're wonderful. This one is The Home Buyer's Guide, everything you need to know about buying a house, a home. So you're an expert in this field?
I am.
All right. So what do people need to know about buying a house? Does this also relate to selling a house too, or just buying?
That is just for buying.
Okay, just buying. So What is the shortcut to all of this? What would you say?
It walks them through the process. Like, where do I start? I want to buy a house. Where do I start? Okay, where you should start is by pulling your credit.
Right.
Creditreport.com. It's the one official website that everyone in the country can go to.
Mm-hmm.
They pull their credit once a year,
Okay.
and it costs nothing.
Right.
Why that's important is you have your credit, but Uncle Ernie, who lives in Tallahassee, may have just gotten foreclosed on,
Mm-hmm.
and the credit union may have mixed up his credit with your credit.
Oh.
And if you wait for the mortgage company to pull your credit once you found your dream home,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to buy it.
I see. So you got to get your
Because
eggs in order.
that last minute, even though it's not your credit and it's somebody else's credit on your credit report,
Mm-hmm.
it can take 6 months to get it off. It's a theory reality. The theory is that you're supposed to provide the information, the credit companies take it off immediately,
Right.
but the process can be months.
What's the website again?
Freecreditreport.com.
And it's free. No strings
Free.
attached.
Okay. So that's going to give you your report, but it's not going to give you your number. Okay.
Of what you
So-
can borrow?
Correct.
Okay.
Your credit score.
Oh, your credit score, that
So
number.
Credit report,
Oh.
credit score, similar but
Yep.
two different things.
Exactly.
Credit report, more detail. Here's everything that, the details and everything that you've ever borrowed,
Wow.
bought.
Interesting.
Okay. Your credit score is how the credit companies look at you.
Right.
Okay. So
The
do
higher
you-
the number, the better it is.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. So you want to get that first,
Mm-hmm.
and then talk to your mortgage people.
Now, is there a free report for that too, the credit number?
The credit number, sort of. I mean,
Okay.
you can go to someone like Credit Karma.
Yep.
A lot of your credit cards now are giving you free partial.
Mm-hmm.
So, like my Chase card will tell me what my Experian is,
Mm-hmm.
and there's another one that I have that gives me the other two.
Mm-hmm.
So if I look in these two places, I can get the 3 scores, and then what they typically do, they take the 3 and average them, and
Okay.
that's what your
Right.
number is.
Okay.
Okay. So if you find that your score is 540, buying a house this year,
That's not good, is it?
it's not impossible.
Right.
It's going to be really difficult, though.
What's a good
Okay.
score? 7, 8, 9? Is it 8, 9?
Like 7 to 9.
Okay.
Okay, really good. But honestly, 640 to purchase a home,
Right.
that's usually
Yep.
kind of the beginning.
And do you know what they're looking for? They're looking for you're paying your bills on
They wanna-
time.
yeah,
Your
obviously,
debt ratio.
They're about to hand you $100, $200, $300, $800,000 over 30 years.
Mhm.
They want to know that you've got a track record of paying on time.
I see.
And your track record of paying on time will determine what your interest rate is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because the credit company or the mortgage company will look at you and say, well, you're a bad risk or you're a good risk.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So clean that up. Figure out what your score is. Figure out what your credit is. That's the first step, and then you find a broker like you. Is that what?
Correct.
Okay.
Find a real estate agent and really try and define what it is that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just use an example of a husband and a wife come in and they want to buy something. Guess what? The husbands and wives are not always on the same page.
No, one wants this, the
Just
other one wants that. Yeah.
So now my psychology background comes in well because I find myself being more of a therapist than a realtor. Okay?
That's great.
Very important.
That's great. You have another hat.
Because you've got to get the two people to find that compromise and find what they're looking for. And then go out and start looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
I think over the years, my most common request was, I was always like very big on the internet, so I've got people coming in from all over the place to Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first things they say is, oh, I want an antique colonial on 5 acres because it looks awesome on 75 DPI on the internet.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful, wide boards. And then you bring them into the dirt basement
Right.
with the fieldstone foundation and the original kitchen cabinets built in 1776.
Doesn't look that appealing anymore.
And the hair stands up on end. And they loved the 5 acres of land, but they didn't believe me when I said in 1776 they built the houses close to the road because it was easy to tie up the horse on the front of the house.
Oh.
Now that we're not riding horses and we're driving, if the idea of your 5-year-old pedaling out the driveway into that street
Yeah.
makes your hair stand up on end,
Yeah.
probably not the house for you.
Yeah, you're thinking.
So those
Big
5-acre antiques are usually close to the street. The 5 acres is all in the back, and it's mostly marsh and swamp, or somebody would have figured out over the years how to subdivide it and put a house back there.
So you're seeing patterns. It sounds like you're like a
Correct.
Sherlock Holmes. I mean, after a while, there's just so many patterns, and you know what they are, and so you find somebody that wants to buy a house for the very first time. You're an educator, so you're saying, look,
Correct.
you can have this, but this is the consequences. And
Exactly.
it's very interesting. All right, so what about this one here? This one says expired, formula to sell any house, even hard to sell homes.
So, example, I just took a listing in Madison, okay? Single family house with a cottage on 2 acres. Next door is 2.5 acres. So the land was listed for $350, the house was listed for $628. You could buy the bundle for $928 as a special deal. And for 3 years, 3 major brokerages were not able to sell it. Customer finds me on the internet and goes, "You're not like everybody else."
You're not. You're not. I can say that you're not.
He said, "We need to meet. I need to show you the house and see what you think." So I look at the house and I immediately discover the house listing was listed 3 times at $628 were the house and the cottage, but nobody ever clicked on the checkbox that said in-law. Yes, in-law, possibility, and nobody mentioned the $1,500 a month income that comes from the cottage.
Wow.
So the cottage has a separate driveway on a separate street and a separate income. The way the current house looks, it really compares against homes in the 550 range. It's big, it's nice, it's got a great lot. Condition needs a little bit of work.
Sure.
So everybody walks in the front door and they expect to see 630, 650 because that's what they've been looking at, and they see 550 and it's half a heartbeat.
They're walking out. Yeah.
What I've been doing as a buyer broker, not just a buyer broker anymore, but over the years, I got 15 years of just opening doors and looking over my shoulder.
Yeah.
What's the kiss of death? Turn over my shoulder and see a crumpled nose.
Oh, you saw it. You were able to read it
all the time.
with people.
I open door and I turn right. What is that instant feeling that they get? And if the nose is crumpled, the deal's dead.
I love it.
So people were walking into his house, crumpling their nose and walking out, and he goes, "That's exactly right." Agents kept telling me we walked in and we walked out. It didn't compare.
Sure, sure.
Now, I put the house on the market. In-law possibility, in-law yes. It mentions the $1,500 a month on the first line of the listing so that people have an entirely different thought walking in the front door. When they walk in that front door, usually the first thing that people looking for in-law apartments is, where's the in-law apartment?
Right. Is it far enough away? That's what I
Right.
would be thinking.
Plus they're looking at the income and they're going, I can afford $600,000 in Madison
Right.
because I earn $1,500 a month.
Right, right. It's an income.
Without that income, I'd be looking in the 500.
I'm
range.
impressed that you see things differently than most people, and I'm also impressed that you're able to read people. You know, the whole idea of communication is really important. So we got about 4 minutes left, so let's talk about this. How to sell your home for more money. I have to ask you, can you come back? Can we do another episode? Because I'm sure we're just scratching the surface here.
6 more.
Okay,
Sure.
6 more. You know what I was thinking? You should have your own television show where you go around with your prospects and you find the crinkled up nose. Why don't you do that?
I did do a screen call with the
You
BBC
did?
in New York City. The show was called Real Estate Road Trip, and I was the guy that was supposed to take the couples around, and they were going to sleep in 3 houses for
Yep.
a night
Yep.
and then pick one.
That would be great.
And I got the call. I got the second call for the screen call. They said, "You have the best stories. We want you." But the BBC in England didn't fund it. It was BBC, it's TLC channel.
Yeah, yeah.
Is owned by BBC.
Yeah, that might
So
happen though.
been there close, moving in that direction.
So how
We're
to sell
short
your
on
home for
time.
more money? Yeah.
My background is I've been a contractor since I was 5. Yes, 5. I'm the guy, the little kid, going door to door, going, "Can we please shovel your sidewalk?"
I
And
did
I've
the
got
same thing.
the big kids behind me.
I did the same thing.
Got up, I got a little bigger, I mowed the lawn. I got a little bigger, we did painting. I got a little bigger, we did siding and framing.
Right.
I built houses. I'm the only person in the state of Connecticut to build a house, put it in a box, put it on a truck, take it to the port, ship it to Germany, and
Really?
build a house in Germany, a zero energy home,
Wow.
double wall construction in Germany.
Wow.
So that's my background. So I've painted over 1,500 houses.
Wow.
I'm a trained building analyst. I've done over 100 energy audits. I have the ability to look at things differently and precisely. I can walk in and go, after 15 years of opening doors for buyers, I know what they're looking for.
That's amazing. We got to have you back. So, Steve Schappert, thank you for being on the television show. How do they get a hold of you one more time?
ConnecticutRealestate.online.
Excellent. We'll see you next week with Steve Schappert. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg.